On this channel, I have always explained and opened with my speed builds, just kind of sharing a little story on how I struggled with it. Well, for once on this channel, I'm going to share a little story on how I was able to really find my groove with this next pair of lot builds here. And it kind of came to me as a surprise, as at the time that I'm recording it, I am still riding that wave of, I guess, success. I don't know anymore, but anyways, I got 2 lot builds for you, and I think you guys are gonna like them. Now, for those of you just joining me and just discovering my little corner of the internet, my name is Michael, and I want to welcome you to Sovereign Gaming in Life Sims, the YouTube channel where I build worlds, lots, and share my thoughts on video games in the life simulation gaming space. Now, if you didn't catch it already, today we are indeed back in my SimCity world here, just finishing off, finally, the set of green space lots in the downtown core. And the reason why I say finally is that, honestly, my heart and my mind is still in a different space here, in that I just want to build more skyscrapers and more urban structures and all of that. So my mind has honestly been there in that space. This whole green space building thing is not something I would ever describe as being in my wheelhouse. I never get excited over this kind of thing. I'm always excited to build apartments and mid-rise buildings and single family homes and all of that, and commercial buildings, true commercial buildings. That's what I'm always most excited for. But yeah, that's where my head and my heart have been during all of this time. And I had to create the SimCity launch trailer in there as well, so that also interrupted my flow. And I'm finally glad to be here, and I came to this next set of lot builds with a lot of momentum, honestly speaking. And yeah, if you didn't guess it by the title, we are doing both a cat jungle and a dog park. And I got a really great suggestion on one of my older videos from one of my fantastic commenters, and they suggested to build the cat jungle as some sort of a ruins, and just to kind of classify the lot as a cat jungle. And I really love that idea, if I'm going to be completely honest. And that's really where we're starting today, is we're starting with that cat jungle, because it is the more complicated of the 2 builds, and you'll see why. And yeah, this cat jungle honestly took a lot of inspiration from I believe it's called the Torre de Argentina in Rome. It's actually an ancient site, a site of ruins, where it pretty much houses all of the stray cats in the city of Rome. And I've actually had the great fortune of actually visiting that very space, and I petted a couple of cats there too. It's not where my cat is from, but they have this whole program there where they allow visitors to just come in and pet the cats. You can adopt cats, you can donate to it. It's a great organization. And it's just kind of funny how you had all of these cats just kind of end up living in a place that was so ancient and so old, and they just they're there now to make the ruins famous, but also for the enjoyment of people generally either visiting or living in Rome. Yeah, so I took a lot of inspiration from there. I was really happy with it, and I was really happy with the way that this actually turned out. And I know I say that with all of my builds, but honestly, even though I sometimes drone on and on and on about them, I am happy with the end results at the end of it. So no worries there. I'm not too sure if I actually got the name of the reference correct. I think it's actually called the Largo di Torre Argentina. One thing I can guarantee you, though, is that I am butchering the pronunciation of it. So I do apologize for those of you that are listening that speak Italian fluently and are probably having your ears bleed from the way that I'm pronouncing it. So I do apologize for the mispronunciation there, but I've actually been to the site itself. I visited Rome. Beautiful, Love that it's a cat sanctuary now, and that's really the direction that I wanted to take this. And this lot in of itself in SimCity really helps to complement the other lots that are surrounding it, because the open pit metro was essentially like a revitalized archaeological site that was then made into this open pit metro with a fantastic mezzanine level and all that. And then you've got this here, like just a set of these you've got this just like a broken temple that has been taken over by cats, which is reminiscent of the the archaeological site in Rome. But also it helps to, you know, kind of tell the story that there's a bit more history here in SimCity than what meets the eye. It's not just skyscrapers and crumpled bottom businesses popping up everywhere we go. And don't worry, like I've got some ideas down the road for building other lots that take different namesakes. It's just that I've taken the creative liberty to make the crumple bottoms the founding families here, the oldest of the old money, so to speak. And so yeah, I've got a certain lot build in mind that kind of helps to pick from the other different notable families. But yeah, we'll kind of cross that bridge when we get there. It isn't for a little while off, but you know, soon enough for me to actually talk about it. So I will talk about that when the time comes. I'll tease that more later on. But back to the build. The build with the cat sanctuary here is that cats require a little bit more structure, in my opinion, than the dogs do. With the dog park that I made, and I'll speak on this later on this episode, I envisioned them just needing space to just run. I imagine that there are plenty of dog owners just like living in the city, living in their apartments or condos, and just like not having that backyard space for their own dogs to just kind of run around and be dogs. Okay, I'm getting way ahead of myself. I'll probably end up re-explaining that later. But with the cat sanctuary, I felt like it needed a lot more structure with it. And with these ruins and taking that inspiration from Rome, I really felt like I could take a lot of creative liberties with this one. Particularly like when it came to having like a little sandbox area for the litter box. Well, that turned into its own little corner there, and then I also made sure to have like the feeding areas for the cats, and also to give them a couple of actual cat jungles, or whatever that object is called. I'm pretty sure it is called cat jungle. And then like a scratching post area. So yeah, there was a lot of there's a lot of different stations for different cats to kind of hang out at, and that was something that I felt was done pretty well when it came to actually executing and acting on the vision that I had for this. It feels like a true cat sanctuary, but it also, again, like the amphitheater build, it doesn't feel like it's blocked off from anything, so you can just access it wherever you go. And so do the cats. The stray cats of SimCity all conglomerate here and all live here. And yeah, so I imagine it to be a very benevolent cat sanctuary, much like the Largo de Torre Argentina. Okay, I'm gonna seriously stop pronouncing that now. Now that I've offended everyone, in Rome. So that is, like, I imagine it to function just like that site as well. It left a really positive impression on me when I went to visit there in Rome. And yeah, loved visiting Rome when I was there. And if you guys ever go there, and if you get a chance to, the St. Peter's Basilica is absolutely amazing. That blew my mind. I would go back again in a heartbeat. But yeah, that's enough talk about that. We need to focus back on the lot build here. In order for the runes to make sense, I needed their colors to just kind of match what we used for the open pit metro, and also for the science and the business buildings, because they all use the same colors as well. And so yeah, this white that I'm using is certainly something that just kind of matches that color palette. Same with the pillars, I kept to a very similar color palette there. And I also added in a couple of platforms just to give it a little more excitement, and just to change it up just a tiny bit more in terms of that. So yeah, I added in those platforms. I guess they're called stages in The Sims 3. They're like the stage platforms. They're really handy to use, if I'm going to be completely honest with you guys, and I can't wait to use them more in some future builds that I have in mind here. So actually, when I was doing the amphitheater, I thought I would use this stage platform a lot more to like denote different heights and such, but you know, when I did the amphitheater, simplicity really beat out what I had in mind, and I'm really glad that I just kind of listened to what the lot was telling me. And so what this lot was telling me was just that I needed to add in a little bit of a height difference here and there, just to kind of convey the different stations that are happening, being like the scratch post, the place for the cats to eat, and then also towards the western end of the lot, I actually did place another platform with like sleeping cat beds and all that, so there's like a place to sleep and everything. And because SimCity is like, I'm interpreting SimCity, like this part of SimCity as being in a warmer climate, I felt that having everything open air was quite suiting for it. Like I keep saying, in my game I only play with 7 days of winter, so I make sure winter doesn't last longer than it has to, because I live in a place where winter just seems to last forever, and I am a summer person. so yeah. One thing that is interesting though is that in The Sims 3, and I'm not too sure if you guys have it in The Sims 4, and I'm pretty sure you don't have it in The Sims 2, but there's no such thing as catnip here. And so I really wanted to plant like different catnip bushes. And when I was doing some research into what that would look like, just because it isn't available in the game, they kind of look similar to the wolfsbane flowers. So I decided to just plant like gardens of those, like for wolfsbane and all that. And I guess like in my head, the city would actually look to plant those just as a means to actually attract the stray cats from the city, because they'll make their way over to the catnip and just kind of veg out on the catnip there. So that was kind of what I had in my head, and I kind of like that it's wolfsbane that is the flower that just kind of looked similar to the catnip flowers that I was, or the catnip plants that I was researching. Maybe I'll throw up a screenshot on there just to kind of like protect my Google image results that I was getting. But yeah, I kind of like that it was wolfsbane that ended up being the plant that was the most similar to it, only because, like, you know, with the with the lore behind wolfsbane, you use it to, you know, get rid of werewolves and stuff like that, or repel werewolves, I should say. And and to me, it's kind of funny. It kind of brings back that whole old like cats versus dogs things, and I won't get into that per se, but I kind of found it funny that the cats would be attracted to something that would repel an animal that is very closely, well, a mythical animal that would be closely related to dogs. So I kind of found that to be a little funny as I was placing it here. I did actually end up adding in a drinking station, and I just placed them in as little fountains, and the little fish cat beds that I use, I placed those on the corners because I thought that that looked pretty, they looked kind of funny to me, and I thought that it was quite endearing. I'm not too sure if I got the color right on those cat beds. I wanted them to be like a brighter blue, of course, but I might just have to go back and edit this lot and make them stone just to match the fountains, because that might just make a tad bit more sense. But yeah, the cat beds, there are cat beds on the corner, and I imagine that the cats would come to this fountain. It would be a place that they would like drink from, not really play in. And of course, like there's lily pads and all that for cats and kittens to just kind of swat at, I suppose. That would be something that they would pretty much enjoy, is playing with those lily pads if they felt so inclined to. But yeah, I didn't want any like deep pools or anything like that. I just wanted a nice little drinking station for the cats. And who can forget the boxes and the crates? Wasn't that kind of awesome? Okay, anybody who owns a cat knows that you get two toys when you buy a toy that comes with a box. One being the toy itself that they usually like to ignore after you spend all your money on it, the other being the box, which they seem to enjoy a lot more. in my household, like whenever we get like Amazon deliveries or anything, the box stays for at least a couple of days so that my cats get to enjoy them, and then they get recycled. So one of those things. And so there's a whole box station here for cats to enjoy the boxes and crates as they need, you know, power to them. If they enjoy boxes and crates, that is certainly fine by me. But yeah, with the platforms, I decided to give them like a sort of an open gazebo concept to them, just placing some of those older columns, just making them look like little antiquity sites here and there. I imagine, like, I've written the description for this lot to be to have lore that this was an ancient temple back in ancient times that actually worshipped cats back in the day. So it's like the cats have reclaimed the temple now that it's been excavated. So yeah, that was what I had done there. And you'll see very soon, like if the title screen hasn't popped up already, you'll see very soon that I have a very completely different approach to the dog park in SimCity. And many of you will claim that there is a bias towards favoring cats. You might be onto something there. I can't say for sure, but yeah, I definitely own a cat, and they definitely got a whole ancient temple, whereas the dogs will be getting like an open park. But to my defense, I feel like, you know, like I mentioned before, I feel like dogs really need that open space to really run around, like whether they're small dogs or big dogs, or, you know, medium dogs, I guess there is such a classification. But yeah, I feel like dogs need that. So if we aren't already on the dog park build, we will be very shortly, and you'll see that when the title screen pops up there. So I feel like for my dog park design, I kept it very simple. I really wanted that open space. I want those dogs running around. I want those dogs to just be running around free, enjoying it, you know, wagging tails and all that jazz. Yeah, I've never owned a dog myself. I'm just not a dog person personally, so that's just me. I'm a cat person through and through. But yeah, when it came to the dog park design, I had decided to actually divide it into two so that you had small dogs and big dogs. And yeah, I really wanted more freedom, more open space within each of those dog parks. I gave a tiny bit of shade just with some trees here and there, but I felt that overall, like with the dog park, I just needed to place some fire hydrants for the bathroom and all of that. And yeah, I didn't really, I focused more, well, yeah, I focus more on the open space and making sure that the connections from the amphitheater and the open pit metro made sense, because both the cat jungle and the dog park are directly east and west of the open pit metro. So that was really where my consideration went to in terms of the dog park. I didn't want to overcomplicate it. I didn't want to overcomplicate it, as I overcomplicate the word itself. Yeah, I just really didn't want to overcomplicate it. I made it an open space. I wanted to invite Sims into it. So yeah, if you guys are watching this and if you are getting triggered by my lack of amenities for the dog park, feel free to drop that comment below. This is totally something that is a candidate for a big edit and maybe even a redo. Hopefully I'll get this episode up and published before I actually go ahead and do the edits myself. But yeah, the dog park kept it really simple. There's really nothing much I want to share on that. I didn't even add in like too many spawners, and with the spawners, I have been adding them throughout the city, including like bird spawners and lizard spawners and all that. I didn't even add that here. I didn't add many of that here, just like some gardening spawners and I guess like some beetle and butterfly spawners as well. So yeah, nothing too much I actually have to say about the dogs there. I gave them a feeding station, and that's something that I actually think is a tiny bit of an issue with the Sims 3 pets, is that there's just like a lack of pet objects overall, especially for dogs and cats. I find, like, even with the cats, I was like, okay, the cats got like a few more toys than the dogs. They each get a toy box, that's fine. But with the dogs and the cats, I just felt like there wasn't enough objects for them, and the objects that they do have, they share with each other. Like, you can get the same house like the same doghouse and use it for the cat. It's found under the same category. And, you know, I get it. Like, it wouldn't make sense for them not to use each other's things in some kind of retrospect, but I just kind of feel like there was a missed opportunity there in terms of like dogs and cats. But I am also of the mind that The Sims 3 Pets was actually a pretty good expansion pack in of itself. I'll have to share more of my thoughts on that in some sort of a future review episode way down the line. I'm not even through the Sims 2 franchise yet, quite frankly, so that's not even within my crosshairs quite yet. But yeah, Sims 3 Pets was a pretty good expansion pack. Gave us horses, gave us lizards, birds, a bunch of spawners that I struggle trying to make sense of in my SimCity world and my lot build here, but hey, that's just the way that things are going, and I'd rather have the content than not have it at all. But yeah, dogs got the short end of the stick when it came to my when it came to my building momentum here. And if I were to go back and do this fresh-faced and all that, I would still prioritize the open space. That's just kind of my thing here with the dog park. And when you zoom out in the map view, it actually does look like it fits the surrounding lots, and it looks like it's appropriate for the downtown green space area. It's directly south of that of the amphitheater. It's blocked off with fences that you can see other dogs in and all that. Yeah, I mean, if anything, maybe I'd throw in a pond or some sort of a water feature, but I really just don't see myself straying away from the bigger vision here, just being that it's supposed to be an open space for dogs that need to run around and just to play with their owners and other dogs as well. And with myself defending myself desperately for my design choices when it comes to the dog park, I am gonna close out the episode here in just a bit. So please stick around for the tours if they aren't playing already. I do have pictures of the dog park, so don't worry, I didn't completely forget about the dogs in the tours. But again, I just feel like they need that open space, and that the emphasis should be on the interactions between the dogs, their owners, and other dogs. All right, I'm done defending myself there. You guys will just have to roast me in the comment section. What is coming up next is that we are really starting to finish off that downtown neighborhood here. We've only got 2 lots left before I release the next batch of downloadable lots on my Sims file share folder. And yeah, I'm very excited for the next couple of builds here because I get to finally return back to that urban form that I have just been absolutely desperate to get back into, because I have just been sitting on ideas and ideas and ideas. And the next lot build that I will be doing, well, it involves another high-rise building. So we're finally adding into that skyline, and I've done experimenting off camera and it looks great. I've actually pretty much already built it. I just got to furnish the inside, but yeah, it looks great from a skyline perspective. Yeah, I did some experimenting and, you know, chose the different shells that I really wanted and all that. And yeah, so the next slot build that we are going to be doing is going to be an exclusive lounge, and the name and all of that will be revealed in the next episode. So feel free to look out for that episode, which will be scheduled to release either sometime next week. I do these on Tuesdays and Thursdays, so it's the next day, whenever that may be. I'm recording this without kind of knowing myself whether it's going to be a Tuesday or a Thursday, so it'll be on my channel, I promise you guys that, because I do plan to finish building out all of these downtown lots. Anyways, I think I have talked a little bit too much for these dog and cat parks here. If you have enjoyed this episode, if you've been enjoying this series and my build out of my custom SimCity world, then feel free to drop a like and consider subscribing if you haven't already. And of course, if you have any suggestions, feel free to drop a comment as well. I do read them all, and I do quite enjoy just engaging with you guys and having a good time on my channel. Anyways, that'll about do it for today's episode. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have yourself a wonderful day.